Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to cover 5 tips for you guys in basics for photography to improve your skills with your camera. And let's grab a lens, camera, lens, we're ready to go. The first thing is if it's too bright in your photo or wherever you're shooting, there's a few things you can do. You can increase your shutter speed so your camera is taking a faster photo, or you can pick a bigger f-stop, so shrinking the aperture size. That's going to be letting less light in, so it's going to be darkening your photo. Or you can decrease your ISO. So dropping your ISO down is going to reduce the amount of fake light. ISO is that fake light, so you're reducing that light in your image. Should we go shoot some examples? Let's go. If my preview is too bright, I can adjust the shutter speed up so it's getting a darker image, or I can bump my aperture to a higher f-stop, and that's going to bring that light coming in down. Or I can adjust the ISO down to darken the image some more. Now, what if it's too dark? You've figured out what to do if it's too bright in your photos. What if it's too dark? Well, the opposite thing. You can decrease your shutter speed. So you're going to slow the shutter speed down. So you're letting more light in as the camera's taking that photo. It's slowing down that shutter speed. You're getting more light into that picture. Or you can pick a smaller f-stop. This lens here goes to 1.8. That is a very fast wide aperture. So dropping that down so you're getting more light into the sensor, and that's going to brighten up the image. Or you can increase your ISO. Now you don't want to increase your ISO too much where it gets super grainy. I mean, generally I don't like to shoot over probably 5,000 to 8,000 ISO, because the more you add that ISO, the more grain you're getting in your pictures and your videos. So I don't like to use a lot of ISO. You can also, I mean, if your shutter speed is set, your aperture is set for what you like, and you don't want to jump that ISO up anymore to add any more grain, I would add like an external light that you can put some light into the scene, and that will lighten up the scene so it's not super dark. That way you're keeping your camera settings all dialed in, and you're just adding an external light to give you some extra light, so you're not bumping up your ISO so much that you get that grain into your images. Now my third thing for you guys is, what if you want to have a sharper image? Well, your shutter speed is going to play into this, and also aperture, but we'll get to that in a minute. Your shutter speed, if you crank that shutter speed up more, you're taking a faster photo and getting whatever action is happening faster. You're capturing that picture faster. The sensor in there is going to be going faster. You're going to capture that action. You're getting a sharper image. This is helpful if you are doing it handheld. If you have it on a tripod, you could just snap your photos and they'd be still. But when you're hand holding it, it's harder to hold it still. So a faster shutter speed, or if there's animals that you're trying to capture in movement, a faster shutter speed is going to capture the picture faster and stop that motion. Now another thing to get a sharper image, if we're talking in terms of sharpness as focus, we're going to adjust our aperture. If you want more of your photo to be in focus, then you're going to jump that aperture up. This lens is a 1.8, so it's just capturing a very thin slice of focus when I take a picture. So if I bump that aperture up to 4.5, I'm getting a bit wider focus area. If I bump it up to 7, I'm gonna get an even wider area. Bump it up to 11, it's gonna be great for capturing things in landscape or something. So my foreground is gonna be in focus, my background is gonna be in focus, the mid-range is going to be in focus, the higher f-stop I go. So that is another way to be able to take sharper images. If we're shooting groups, we don't wanna just use our 2.5 lens or our 1.8 lens and take a photo, getting that whole group in there. They're not all going to be in focus if we're using a smaller f-stop. So just a general rule here, when you're shooting group photos, you want to set your f-stop to about how many people are in the group. If there's 5 guys in a group, set it to 5, 6 f-stop. 10 people in a group, set it up higher to 8 or 11. If there's only 1 or 2 people, set it down. You can use that 2.8, you can use that 1.8. A 1.2 lens or 1.8 lens might be a little too much for a couple people in a group, say 3 or 4 guys. If you've got 3 or 4 people in a group, that's not gonna get everyone focused. So bump that up to 3.5 or 4.5 and you'll get everyone in focus that way. So general rule of thumb, set your aperture to how many people are in the group. That way you ensure that you get everyone in focus. And my last tip for you guys is depth of field. So using a faster lens like a 1.8, a 1.2, or a 2.8 lens, you're going to get a nice shallow depth of field. The background's going to be blurred, the subject's going to be in focus, and the foreground's going to be blurred out as well. A small f-stop equals a shallow depth of field. So using one of these faster lenses, 2.8 lens, it's going to give you good depth in your pictures. If I take a picture and we've got good background blur, good foreground blur, our subject nice in focus. So this is a great point here with kit lenses. You're not going to be able to get quite as much background blur. You'll get some decent background blur, but if you have the money to be able to upgrade to a L series lens, or if you can just upgrade to a faster lens, you'll be able to separate the foreground and background, get your subject separated, and that's just a really nice look in your photos. Not even just, you know, professional looking, it's just pleasing to the eye to have your subject in focus and your background blurred out. So those are my 6 tips for you guys to improve your photography. Just some photo basics that you can use to take better photos. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a tip, leave it down below. I'd love to see it and start the conversation with you all. Thanks for following along. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't, and I will see you guys in the next video.